Chair, you are live.
Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and call tonight's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee to order. Ms. Glorioso Mas, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Member Apple.
Here.
Can't hear you, Romella.
Somebody just.
Member Judith Gabriel.
Here.
Member Tony Gerlix.
Here, but I want to know where Judith is. Looks like she's at the ski area.
Member Dan Painter.
Here.
Member Steve Pilcher.
Here.
Member Ben Pengilly. Not here. Member Carl Spencer.
Here.
Chair Garcia.
Present.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. Given tonight's inclement weather and that we've got a lot of folks remotely, but we did have to have the meeting here in the chambers because we did not advertise for it to be on Zoom. I would ask that we review tonight's agenda and any items that are not extremely time sensitive, that we postpone them till our next BPAC meeting to allow for those that are attendance in person to travel home safely. So with that being said, let's go ahead and if folks that have items for that they'll be presenting tonight, let's see if we can maybe postpone some of these items until our next meeting. So any of the communications from other agencies are folks here? But well, just wondering if there's any time sensitive information. If not, if we can postpone an update until next meeting.
Yeah, Leah with the Santa Fe MPO, we're happy to postpone till the next meeting.
Okay. And then I think the last one is Mr. Rogers. Okay. And then so with that, let's go ahead and go down through discussion and possible action items. Item 7A, I got a quick update on that, so we can keep that on the agenda. Discussion on possible act changes to sidewalk improvements. Member Abo, this was your item. Was this time sensitive?
Mr. Chair, this is not time sensitive, and I'm happy to remove it from this agenda and put it on the next agenda.
Okay, thank you, Member Abo. Item 7C, request for approval of promotion, education, and programming subcommittee activities. Member Gabriel, I believe this is time sensitive.
The first one is, I'm not sure if the BPAC website really is time sensitive. Tony, you got an opinion on that, or anybody else?
I think we can easily postpone the website analysis till next time.
Okay, fantastic.
But could we keep the Sparks grant on?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's due
Okay.
by, was it February 1st, isn't it?
February 1st, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will keep C1. Now on to item D, request for approval of phase 2 and 3 wayfinding project. Mr. Rogers, that item is yours again. Is this, do you believe it's time sensitive? Happy to hear it. If not, we can move it to next meeting. Okay, so we will keep 7D on. Item 7E, discussion and placement of bike lanes on streets with parking. Member Painter, this item was yours.
Yeah, no, we can postpone that till next meeting.
Okay. And then the subcommittee reports 8A, Member Gabriel, update from your subcommittee.
I just have one quick reminder for people, so that will be like 10 seconds.
Okay, perfect. We'll keep that one. And then next one, Member Painter, the Technical Review Subcommittee update.
Yeah, we can hold that off to next meeting.
Okay. And so with that being said,
Yeah.
we are looking to postpone items 6A, B, C. Oh, Member Spencer, I forgot to ask you on.
I can wait.
Okay, so we're looking to postpone items 6A, B, C, D. Item 7B. Item 7C2. Item 7E. And then item 8B until next meeting.
Move to approve the agenda as amended by the chair.
Okay, a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, Ms. Gloriosa Moss, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Member Abo,
Yes.
Member Bordure, Member Gabriel,
Yes,
Member Gerlix,
Yes.
Member Painter,
Yes,
Member Pilcher, Member Spencer,
Yes.
Chair Garcia,
Yes.
motion passes.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for being accommodating. I know that the snow is coming down and want to make sure everybody gets home safe. And if it wasn't time sensitive, well, I'm sure we'll pick this work back up next month and address it accordingly. Next up is the approval of the minutes from our December 14th, 2023 meeting. Are there any changes from staff?
None, Mr. Chair.
Any changes from members?
Mr. Chair, this is Eric, and I would like, now that we are being streamed and archived on YouTube, I would like to recommend that at the top of the minutes, we indicate a recording of the December 14th meeting is available at this link, a YouTube link. I sent it to Ramella earlier today, and I think that would be a good addition to the minutes. Because that would relieve the burden for Lucretia, and it would also let people see our smiling faces and really hear the details of the discussion. So that'd be a recommendation for both this minutes and upcoming minutes if that is approved.
Sure. I think that can be accommodated. Ms. Gloria Somas, do you see a challenge with adding the link? Okay. Any other changes or recommendations? And if not, what is the will of the body?
I'll move to approve as amended.
Okay, so we got a motion by Member Abo, by Member Bordegary. Any discussion? Ms. Gloriosa Moss, can I get a roll call, please?
Member Abo,
Yes.
Member Bird Gray, Member Gabriel,
yes,
Member Gerlix,
Yes.
Member Painter,
yes,
Member Pilcher,
Yes.
Member Spencer,
Yes.
Chair Garcia,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right, thank you so much. Next up is communications from the public. Do we have any members from the public, whether they're in person here or online via Zoom, that would like to address the body tonight? I don't see anybody rushing to the podium here in person, and I don't see anybody's hand raised via Zoom. Just want to double check with you, Ms. Gloriosa Moss, just because it's a little harder for me to see. None? Oh. Yeah, I don't see any hands raised there. Okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll go
yes,
ahead and,
this is Judith. I have my hand raised.
oh, sure. Go ahead, Member Gabriel.
there it is.
Sorry. I would just like to remind people to please use their mics because we can't hear you when you don't use your mic.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let's go in and move on to, we skipped items or postponed items 6A, B, C, and D. And so the next update is item 7A. This is a follow-up from our last meeting, which is an update on the use of capital funding for parking improvements at Salvador Perez Center and to commit to design bike lane retrofits on Alta Vista and Hospital Drive. And so I did have the opportunity to speak with Director Melissa McDonald. And so the resources that were allocated for the Salvador Perez soccer improvements did include potential improvements to the parking area, but the priority is upgrading the soccer field. And so that is under current design right now. It's an initial design phase in regards to the entity that's going to be working on that project will be bringing forth a proposal to us, to the city. And so unfortunately, Director McDonald was not available tonight. And because there's not any finalized plans or details, I have asked her to come and join us for our next meeting to provide an update on any developments regarding the potential design and for us to be able to provide some feedback to her in regards to the bike lane retrofits that were recommended during our last governing body meeting, not governing body, BPAC meeting. So with that, I didn't know if there was any questions from any of the committee members or Mr. Rogers. And I would say just come up to the mic, that way the folks on Zoom can hear you.
I think it's on. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tim Rogers, Santa Fe Conservation Trust. I appreciate you looking into that. I think, really the solution in terms of trying to rectify the situation on Alta Vista Street is probably going to have to come through Public Works, not Parks. So I didn't really have an expectation that we would be able to link the bike lane effort to what Parks is doing. I just wanted the city in general to realize that, there was kind of a missed opportunity to have bike lanes on Alta Vista. And the fact that we're investing more into parking should hopefully help us realize that maybe through Public Works, we can start to plan to put bike lanes on Alta Vista and Hospital. Thank you.
Sure. And I completely agree with you, Mr. Rogers, in regards to whether it's part of this potential or this project or we work to develop a new project. I think it's absolutely worth discussion, and we can bring in the appropriate entities, whether it's Director McDonald or Director Wheeler with Public Works, and we can begin to potentially make recommendations should that be the will of the body. So more to come. As I spoke with Director McDonald today, and just to make sure I had as much updated information as possible, and she's happy to potentially join us during our meeting next week or next month. Any other questions from members on this item? Okay, hearing none, no action needed to be taken. And so let's go ahead and move on to item 7C1. Request for approval of promotion, education, and programming subcommittee activities. Member Gabriel, this item is yours, and also yield the floor to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Romella brought this to my attention that the League of American Bicyclists Sparks grant application funding. I believe they fund, I think 18 communities to do various things in their community to promote bicycling. And some of the things are listed in the packet. And these are the categories: one-time event, series of events, classes / educational opportunities, pop-up infrastructure / traffic calming, placemaking, tactical urbanism, end-of-trip facilities, giveaways or subsidies for bike equipment or accessories, bike audit, count, survey, or other evaluation or assessment effort. And then there's miscellaneous other. This is due on February 1st. The Promotion, Education, and Programming Subcommittee is aware of it, but we haven't had a chance to discuss it in depth and also share our ideas for funding. I do know that Bike Santa Fe, I believe, is applying for funding also. And I guess I would just like to put out to the group, if you have ideas for what we should seek funding for, we would appreciate hearing that. And also whether you think it's a good idea for us to apply for the funding in addition to Bike Santa Fe, or would we think that's competitive? I wanted to get some feedback about that. So I will stop talking and open up the floor for discussion.
So we'll go to member Pilcher and then member Spencer.
Yes, I'm concerned that we'd be competing with Bike Santa Fe, that it's unlikely that they would award grants to both the city and to Bike Santa Fe. So if they're ahead of the game already, I suggest we figure out how we can support their efforts.
Member Spencer.
Question I had is, would it have to be competitive, or is there a possibility of collaboration between us and one or more private entities? Because I would think that Bike Santa Fe be an excellent one, perhaps the chain breaker. But I defer to those who are already working on this and who are about to speak. Thank you.
Sure. And I'll yield the floor.
Yeah,
Ms.
thank
Weber.
you, Mr. Chair, Member Spencer. This was actually going to be one of the items in our readout that we passed on, knowing that it was on the agenda. Bike Santa Fe is hoping to meet that February 1st deadline for a grant application. And our grant is going to be to fund a one-time event, a bike summit in May or June that we're hoping to plan. We would love to have BPAC be a partner with us on this grant application, and also as we plan the summit as well, if BPAC is amenable to that.
Member Spencer.
Question to Bike Santa Fe. Does this, I briefly looked at this a couple times, but would this have to be something entirely within Santa Fe, or is a bike summit something we would be within the city and county? Or I know we've talked about, or various people have talked about like a statewide bike summit in the past.
Yeah, I think,
What's your scope?
right. The scope would not be a statewide bike summit, because we think that within Santa Fe, the city and potentially the county as well, have to do a little more planning and groundwork and prioritizing before going statewide. It is something that we talked about on the Bike Santa Fe board, but I think given the short time frame of the grant being due and how we would describe the event at this point, that description would just be city and county as well.
Given that we represent the city and county and bike pedestrian infrastructure, it would seem logical to have a collaboration, but I'm one voice. I'd like to hear from everybody else. Yield the floor, sir.
Carrie.
Thank you, Chair. I concur with Member Pilcher's statement that we don't want to compete. I was just looking at the overview, and I wouldn't mind having a little more information about the bike summit that you're planning and like its purpose. And
yeah, we
how it
don't have
meets
the
the
grant
grant.
application completed yet. Tomorrow is a deadline where we're gathering comments and everything from among board members. So I don't actually have that information to share out yet.
Any members online? Okay, so I see, I'm just going to go left to right. We'll go member Painter and then member Gerlitz.
I too wouldn't have any problem, obviously, joining with Bike Santa Fe to submit something. But I did notice reading through the literature, there were some communities that had gotten two. I know St. Louis is one that I saw they had two different grants that they had gotten. So I'm not so sure that we're actually competing. I suspect they would take, as with most grants, the best projects and fund those, regardless if it's two in one community or one in one state and the rest somewhere else. But anyway, it looks like it's a doable thing to have more than one grant in the community. Like I said, St. Louis definitely had two, and I think there was another community that had two. So anyway, I just throw that out. I think if there is something that we would like to pursue, I personally think that we should, quite truly, as BPAC. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Gerlitz. Oh, you're on mute, sir.
Yep. In my experience, it doesn't prohibit one entity from submitting a grant because another entity in the same location is also applying. Bike Santa Fe's idea of a bike summit, I think, could also receive great support from BPAC in that our idea is, without flushing out the details, is to assemble all the members of Bike Santa Fe and anybody else who's interested in improving bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure in Santa Fe in one locale so that we could solicit their own ideas, that we could talk about what needs to happen, increase our membership, and just build the sort of coalition that's necessary to get things done. Having BPAC support of that would be terrific. That's just one idea. In Bike Santa Fe, we kicked around a number of ideas, including increasing the number of LCI certified instructors. That could be something that BPAC may want to look at. But we're pretty solid with our idea of a bike summit. We think it'd be very beneficial for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gerlitz. Member Gabriel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I love the idea of the bike summit, and even though there's nothing prohibiting us from both applying, given that we just found out about it and we don't have any fresh ideas at the moment, if we look like separate entities in the same community applying, we may look like we are not working together or not collaborating. I would love to support Bike Santa Fe's application and also the summit. I think would be an excellent promotional opportunity for increasing awareness in Santa Fe. So I really like the idea of helping with the application in any way that we can and supporting Bike Santa Fe's application. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Gabriel. Member Abo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Judith and Tony in that, and I guess a number of others in that we might not have the time to be able to put together a separate application, and I'm wondering if because of how this item was noticed and because of the unfinished nature of the application that Bike Santa Fe is doing, if it is something that we can do to move to support the application of Bike Santa Fe to this program, understanding that we will collaborate on the design of a bike summit in Santa Fe in Bike Month or May or whatever. I think that because of the short timeline, if we have an ability to give our approval, and then possibly the subcommittee and a non-quorum group of folks could work with Bike Santa Fe on helping with their application. So that's just my recommendation. If it's possible for us to make a motion, I could probably trim that language down.
Thank you, Member Abo. Member Spencer.
Just in terms of eligibility, the note that of the 15 organizations to receive awards, 7 must be in GM home communities, General Motors. We are not a General Motors committee, so we're whittled down to one of, I guess, 8. And to me, having written and even gotten a few grants, I think collaboration makes for a stronger proposal, if for no other reason. And it looks like there's more people who are going to be doing the work and supporting it. So I fully support Judith and others' idea that we collaborate on a single strong proposal, especially given the short timeline, and suggest that the PEP subcommittee could be working directly with Bike Santa Fe as a sub-quorum group to get this done. Thank you.
Member Spencer. Any other comments from members in person? How about online? And so I think Member Bo kind of hit on some of the, or at least the question I had, just because it would be great to have the committee take a vote of support for Bike Santa Fe's application, but I think the way it's recognized, and maybe I'll seek guidance or counsel from other members in regards to the way it's noticed. It's League of American Bicyclists Community Sparks Grant application. And so it's not necessarily referencing BPAC support or BPAC's actions or Bike Santa Fe's actions. So I think it's a little ambiguous in regards to what the proposed action that is being noticed. But I think it's the obvious, the will of the body in the sense, and I didn't know, Ms. Weber, if it would be helpful to have letters of support be submitted with the application. And I think that's where, due to the way it's recognized, I typically would say, let's see if the body is willing to send a letter of support on behalf of BPAC. But if, and I'll ask the members of the body if they think the caption captures that or involves that, because if it doesn't, as the chair, I'm happy to send a letter of support as well, just because I think the support to the body is there. And I think the ultimate intention is to work to ensure that one of these grants that's awarded is coming to Santa Fe. And I think the will of the body is to support Bike Santa Fe's efforts.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Definitely, I think a letter of support, we'd have to look back at the application to see if they gather letters of support for the grant. I anticipate they do. Usually that's standard procedure. But if that's what BPAC would be able to do, that would be welcome as well, in addition to a letter from the chair.
Sure, sure. And I guess, again, I'm having a bit of, I don't want us to get in trouble in regards to noticing the action by the body, because it's pretty vanilla, in my opinion, the way that it's written out. It's just the topic. And so we're not proposing any action in the sense of supporting a BPAC application versus Bike Santa Fe. I guess I'll put that out to the committee. Do folks see if the way it's noticed a challenge? Because again, I don't want us to take an action that we necessarily didn't properly notice, where I can submit the letter, even though it comes from me ultimately. I think the support of BPAC is there. And as Member Spencer mentioned, we can work with Bike Santa Fe to see if any of the subcommittees want to work to continue support this initiative. I think there's the ultimate collaborative intention right now. So I guess I'll open it back up for comment from members. Yes, Member Bordigari.
Chair, as I look at the item, I think it falls within that. It's a request for approval of promotion, education, and programming, the PEP subcommittee activities. And under that are listed these two, one of which is the League of American Bicyclists Community Sparks Grant application. I mean, it's phrased as a request. I mean, that's clearly an information item, but I think we are covered by it being a request and what's been expressed in here. And yeah, and I support some kind of letter of support, but that's my 2 cents.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Bordigari. Member Spencer, looked like you were.
Yeah, it doesn't commit the city to any funds or anything. This would be all volunteer time from the BPAC. So I don't see where this would need any approval outside the BPAC. So I would propose a motion, but it looks like we have some hands up first.
Okay. And then we'll just go again, left to right. We'll go member Gerlitz and then member Abo.
And thank you, Chair Garcia. I think a proposal that any volunteers from BPAC who wanted to work with Bike Santa Fe to finalize the application would be welcome. Whether it's Judith as the chair or anyone else on the PEP subcommittee. I don't know how formal it has to be, but we would certainly welcome anyone to help us finalize the grant application and institute any ideas from BPAC that we haven't thought of.
Thank you. Member Abo, thought I saw your hand up, but I don't see it.
It was, but I would say same. And I agree with Cal. There is no request for city activities, so I'm not sure who might challenge this because of the noticing. And I think that if we move to support the PEP for participating in the development of the summit, that it might be something that that gives some weight to the application from Bike Santa Fe. Thanks.
Thank you, member Abo. So with that being said, I'm open to a motion if any member wants to make one.
This
Ms.
is Judith. I
Gloriosa
had a
Mas.
comment first.
Sure. Hold on
Sorry.
1 second. Ms. Gloriosa Mas wanted to, I guess, clarify something.
Yeah, because member Gerlich said that any number of members, BPAC members can support and help the Bike Santa Fe to prepare this submittal. But if there will be 6 members, BPAC members going to a meeting and working on the application, then we have a quorum. We cannot have 6 members.
So it absolutely would have to be less than a quorum. It could be PEP. Well, PEP would, that would encompass everything, right? Because once we bring in one other person outside of PEP, then we would hit quorum. So, okay, thank you for that clarification. Ms. Gabriel, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say that I am more than happy to assist in any way that Bike Santa Fe would like us to with the application. Tony is already on the board and will be assisting in wearing his other hat. And I know that probably doesn't mean anything for the quorum, but if he and I both participated, that would count as 2. And I also would really like to, in a letter of support, commit to helping to co-sponsor or whatever the summit, so that it is very clear that we're committing to an actionable deliverable, and that it really shows that we are collaborating in the city of Santa Fe. So Jennifer, if you want to reach out, I'm happy to assist in any way, reviewing, helping write, whatever you need help with. And I do think we should be very clear what our commitment is in a letter of support. Thank you.
Yeah, member Spencer. Oh, sorry. No comments or, okay. Anybody else? So what's the will of the body? Member Spencer.
I'd like to offer a motion.
Sure.
I move that the BPAC support the Bike Santa Fe Spark application and offer a letter of support and collaboration to the application, and if funded, support the project as requested by Bike Santa Fe.
Okay, got a motion by member Spencer. Do we have a second?
I'll
Okay,
second
tie.
it.
We got a third, so tiebreaker
Is that
goes
good?
to member Bordigari will be the second. We'll get you next, member Pilcher. Any discussion? Okay, Ms. Gloriosa Mas, can we get a roll call on this one, please?
Member Abo,
Yes.
member Bird Gray,
Yes.
member Gabriel,
Yes.
member Gerlich,
Yes.
member Painter,
Yes.
Member Pilcher, Member Spencer,
Yes.
Chair Michael Garcia.
Yes.
Yeah, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. So let's go ahead and move on to the next item, which is 7D, request for approval of Phase 2 and 3 wayfinding project and inclusion of Bike Route 66 into the project. Mr. Tim Rogers, this item is yours. I'm going to yield the floor to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Whoops. Is this on? Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I wonder if we can, you needed, yes, if you would like, if you could put it up, that would be great. Thank you. Well, as I hope many of you have noticed, we were able to, with the city's help, implement phase 1 and 2 of the bike wayfinding. So, or it's really phase A, phase 1. I'm sorry, it got divided into so many sections. It's phase 1 and it had 2 sections that I show on the map. So we really, I think we're successful in putting up guidance for bicyclists that are in on some of the bike routes that have been signed in the past now actually have destination based wayfinding. And I think we got all the signs up that we wanted to. It seems to be harder to take signs down. There's a lot of signs that are up that could be removed, that are no longer needed. And we certainly could include that information in the activity I'm proposing now. But I would like to, I've sent a proposal to Romella to continue designing the bike wayfinding phases 2 and 3, and proposed a few changes in the activity. So basically, this is what you see here. The first map that was in the packet is our map from 2021 showing what we were planning to do. So all of the routes that are shown in green and yellow are now up. And you can find your way between the River Trail, Acequia Trail, Rail Trail, Galisteo, and Don Gaspar. And hopefully it's working for people. So our next phases are shown on the map, and I kind of revisited them late last year, considering what projects are moving forward and what are not. And so Romella, if you could go to the next graphic, it shows that analysis showing phase 1 complete. There's kind of some spot improvements in areas that were part of phase 1 that I think are appropriate to include in phase 2. And there's opportunities, especially with some of the work that HomeWise is doing. It looks likely that we may be able to connect Rufina Street and the Acequia Trail in the not so distant future. And so I'm suggesting that we add that into phase 3 as well. And there's a few spots that aren't really moving along, and I don't think it would be productive to design wayfinding yet. Those include the Gale Ryba Trail and the extension east past Botolph, which I don't think is really moving forward yet. And another one, if you could scroll a little down, part of phase 3 was anticipating a trail that's still in plans, but it's not moving forward yet, which is from South Meadows to the future transit center and providing wayfinding that would connect to Tierra Contenta. We'll keep that side, but the going to the transit center where it says defer there across Cerrillos to the Arroyo Chamiso Trail, I think that's going to need some time. So I took those pieces out and added in where it says extend and a few of those other spot locations. So if you could go to the next map, please, Romella. This is what our new map would look like. And certainly the ones that were deferred and other future priorities that we identify, we could start, putting together a phase 4. But I think it's a good time to be working on phase 2 and phase 3, and we can pull in, especially a lot of the trails that are now being built on the south side or about to be built can be pulled into this wayfinding. And that was really some of the questions in the past, is why aren't we doing it on the south side? And that's because there weren't really different options to provide wayfinding for. But now that we're getting some of these improvements, there will be a real reason to have wayfinding and to show people that you'll be able to, for example, use Rufina Street to get all the way downtown. The river trail is being extended, and I've thought about, well, how is that going to affect what we're proposing? In fact, unfortunately, the streets that the river trail is being extended to still won't have good connections to the bike lanes of Rufina Street. So I don't think it'll change things much. We may let people know on Lopez Street that they could take a left to get to the river trail if they don't mind being on a road that has no bike lanes. So I don't think there'll be giant differences, but I think we're all looking forward to the river trail being extended. So that's the majority of the proposal. When I made the first proposal, which was way back, I think it was in 2019, I included a proposal to do some planning for Bike Route 66. And it was not included in what we moved forward with, but I would like to propose to include it this time. And I think it's more compelling for a couple of reasons. One is that we now have improvements since then to Old Santa Fe Trail, and we really can conceivably work with the county and NMDOT to sign Bike Route 66 all the way from Old Las Vegas Highway north of El Dorado all the way to the plaza, because it's really up to us in the city to designate some of these few new pieces for wayfinding, whereas in the county and on the state facility, Old Las Vegas Highway, there already is wayfinding. And that is, I've done this work for NMDOT in the past, and as well as for the city. And often when you approach a new agency, they have questions about signing bike routes, and it takes a lot of decision making. And the fact that bike wayfinding is already up on the state and county facilities is going to, I think, really make it possible for this to work. So another reason to include this is that 2026 is the 100th anniversary of Route 66, which came through Santa Fe in 1926. And so there'll be a little bit added relevance, I think. And if you're wondering about, Bike Route 66, it is a real thing. It was created by Adventure Cycling Association. It's discussed in our 2012 Bike Master Plan, as well as our 2019 Bike Master Plan. I know we have a strong supporter of Bike Route 66 here, who surely wanted to speak in the public moment, but was not here. And I'd be happy for him to say a word for Bike Route 66 if the committee wishes. The other material that I included from the Bike Master Plans describes Bike Route 66. When the 2019 Bike Master Plan, actually, there was hope that there would be a U.S. Bike Route 66, which really, I think, is kind of a pipe dream. It involves getting a lot of state departments of transportation on board, and even getting New Mexico's on board will be questionable. Getting NMDOT to sign a bike route with us, even if it's already on an existing bike route, will be new territory for them. I actually worked with them on bike routes over a dozen years ago, and they designated maybe one after that work and then stopped. So it will take a lot of communication. And so my proposal is to work with these agencies, develop a concept and a plan of action, and be ready to do a real design, do a concept for both directions, because it goes to go to Albuquerque, they actually selected New Mexico 14, and that is a road that has shoulders to Madrid. And so that could be a conversation to have with NMDOT. But I guarantee you they're less likely to create a new bike route than to allow us to just change a designation, which now it's State Bike Route 9. We could overlay that with State Bike Route 66. But it'd be good to get the concept in their minds about the other direction towards Albuquerque. The other material I included was some of the project lists that we have that do refer to Bike Route 66. So we have in 2012, we included Old Las Vegas Highway beyond El Dorado, going towards Cañoncito. Great opportunity. There's a 3-lane section that could be road dieted and become a 2-lane section with bike lanes. It's been mentioned to NMDOT. This could be a good context to mention it to them again. And in the 2019 plan, if you scroll down further, interestingly, relating to other topics we've discussed, we show, I've had this happen to me too, I don't know why. We show Alta Vista Street, which is part of Bike Route 66, and the improvements on Alta Vista Street, putting bike lanes on Alta Vista Street, relate to Bike Route 66. We include a few other that are highlighted in those project lists, and so you're welcome to look at those. They refer to also parts of New Mexico 14 and Old Las Vegas Highway again. So that's my proposal. I have Romella has a proposal in her hands, and I think probably would like your guidance in terms of should we move forward with this. And I'm happy to let Stephen Newhall take the stand for a sec if you all wish to give his perspective on Bike Route 66, because I know a lot of people in Santa Fe have never heard of it.
Mr. Newhall, since you took the time.
Bike Route 66 was created by.
Mr. Newhall, will ask you to just get a little closer to the mic because the folks on Zoom will need
that
it.
working?
Perfect.
Okay. Bike Route 66 was laid out by a friend of mine named Damon Schur, I think about 2011, 2012. And I actually helped run it through. She came and stopped at the bike shop, and we sat and talked for about an hour on how to, and the bike touring, through most of it, there's no route finding problems in places like New Mexico because there's only one road for, 50 miles or something. But finding your way through the urban areas is the difficult part. And so we're trying to figure out both the safest and easiest to explain route to do that. And it's changed a little bit, and hopefully I think there's some more changes that can be made. But if you're a bike tourist, if you can just see signs and you don't have to sit there and figure out every turn based on the little map, and you can just see the signs, it is much easier to get to where you're stopping. I have a feeling almost all of these people will be spending the night in Santa Fe just because there's not much, there's really nowhere from Albuquerque coming from the west, and there's nowhere, I don't know, in the east, Vegas maybe. So it's also an economic thing of people stopping in, which I know by how many people we get in the bike shop needing, a little bit of assistance or directions, never mind where they really spend the money, which is in food and lodging. So this is a very worthwhile thing to do. And by the way, we do sell those maps at Robin Charlie's. So it's, I don't know, it's a wonderful thing for Santa Fe to have something like this. This is something I have wanted to do for years and years and years. And if we could get it signed through here, I will then call my friends in Albuquerque and say, look what we did. Can you match us? But it's even in the middle of the pandemic, I saw people on Bike Route 66 with full panniers and sleeping bag, the whole gear. So it's something we really should do. It's considering everything else, it's actually a relatively cheap thing to do. And, eventually I'd love to see it signed all the way through New Mexico. Any questions?
Yes, I'd like to add to that. Thank you. I think it would actually be noticed in a kind of a national community of bike tourism that a place in New Mexico is actually signing Bike Route 66. I think that would be a story that would spread. And I also want to add that this would be not just for tourists using Bike Route 66. It would also establish a local bike route. How do you get to the plaza from El Dorado? We do have State Bike Route 9 that shows one way to do it. It uses actually Old Pecos Trail, the 4-lane section. That was the way when we put up those signs. This will be a chance to actually have a better route than that. And it could incorporate some of State Bike Route 9, maybe diverge from it. But I think it'll also resonate. I think State Bike Route 9 is a little bit weird. I think people don't know what it is. It has no promotion. I think Bike Route 66 will be more easily understood and embraced. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Any questions or comments from the body? Member Spencer.
Yes. See that you have an adventure cycling map set here. Do you have any letters of support from adventure cycling for this?
I don't have a letter of support from them. I know they would support the route being signed. I actually included in this proposal is coordinating with them as well as the county and the state. I actually ordered the latest version of that map, which this is the previous one, and I want to see what they have, but I would like to discuss with them possible adjustments, I want to see what route they have. I think that they do reflect Old Santa Fe Trail having bike lanes now. But we might want to talk to them about possible adjustments as well. I was part of that process that Stephen mentioned as well, working with Tammy Schur of Las Cruces, who's an ACA guide.
Yeah, because given the work that adventure cycling has done on creating these nationwide bike routes, this would be an important part of it, given that there are several major bicycle destinations that go north-south through here, as well as east-west, like I forget what the name of it is, but it's basically a bike trail down the Rockies, I think. And then there's the usual east-west one. So this could be an important destination for people going in either direction.
That's right. The southern tier route is in the east-west in the southern part of the state, and the Great Divide route is the only non-paved route. And I've seen people in Abiquiu with packs and asked them, and they were doing it. They were doing the race. But I've seen people here in Santa Fe on Alta Vista Street with packs, and it was like, oh, why are they riding on Alta Vista Street? They were doing Bike Route 66.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Spencer. Any other members? I'll go top to bottom. I see Member Abo, and then we'll go to Member Painter.
Thanks very much. I've got 3 quick things. Tim, there is a new planner in DOT that Eric Awney is really is working on bicycle and pedestrian stuff. His first name is Samuel. I don't know his last name, but if you if you talk to Eric and get his information, he might be supportive of this. The second thing is we don't need the map, I guess, because folks know this intersection. I spend a significant amount of time in good weather riding on the rail trail, but into town. And I see a lot of folks on bikes from out of town looking at their phones, either going north out of REI or south out of REI. And I think where you have the little ad in the circles, I think it's really important to try and get people across the St. Francis and Cerrillos intersection. And I'm not sure if you know, kind of a if it's a standard to have like a little jog, you know, here to get across the intersection, because it's a bicycle sign, and so it's people can stop and look at it if they're on the trail. But that, unless that's been done in the late fall, I think there still is some need there. So you have an ad with a circle, and I would hope that in that you would look at getting folks who don't know the terrain on the rail trail across that intersection, because that's an important one. And also they get confused. I do a lot of follow me to the river trail, going north out of REI. And the third thing is, Santa Fe County has a sign shop, and I think they would be supportive. You know, they buy aluminum blanks and have a big printer and print things up. And I think they would be supportive, and I can find the contact of the current folks if you're looking for information on who might be supportive of that. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Abbo. Yeah, I'll certainly reach out to Samuel Jensen as well as his boss. And the area of the rail trail you're referring to really was part of phase one. Some of it was already signed, excuse me, as part of the underpass project, but I think that is where I'm proposing to revisit some of that signage at that location. The route to the river trail from the rail trail is signed, actually. But I appreciate your input.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Member Pilcher, and then we'll go to Member Bordigary. Member Painter.
Now? I assume you recognized me. I was just going to ask, since this is a bike route 66, will the state be signing this from entry into the state to exit of the state from end to end? Or are we just talking about a bike route 66 from what's the corner thing down at 285 and 40?
Yeah, it's
Whatever.
the latter. It's the latter. We're being opportunistic. This is what we can sign. The state would never sign. You have to use pieces of the interstate, for example, I-25. NMDOT would never go with that. I know for a fact. So then we're not trying to take on the whole state. And that was part of Adventure Cycling Association's activity, was to try to get states on board with US Bike Route 66. And that would be what you described. That would go from, Tucumcari to Gallup. And that's definitely not going to happen. But I think we can sign the Santa Fe section, eastern half, in time for the centennial, I believe. The western half, I think, is dependent on a few facilities that don't exist yet, perhaps. But we'll look at it and see if that concept can be developed as well.
Where would you envision starting and ending? And what is the route that you're envisioning here?
Well, it's fairly set. I think the focus in terms of trying to get signage up would be between the plaza and Old Las Vegas Highway at US 285 north of El Dorado. That's existing Bike Route 66. That's what I mentioned, the route where the state and the county already have bike wayfinding up El Gancho Road, Old Santa Fe Trail. So that's the easy one. Going west, we would have to see if there's a segment from the plaza that we can get signs up that makes sense, that seems like it would be the route for posterity, then I think we would do it. But I think there's still some things to be worked out on the west side of the route.
Okay, I just was a little bit involved when US Bike Route 76 was put in place during the bicentennial. And there was a lot of states got involved with that, you know, and there were some really hazardous roads where it was considered a bike route. And I remember I was working in Wyoming and they did, I think it was 285 going up to Yellowstone, and seemed like a good idea, except for the fact that it's 90% heavy vehicles driving that route, and there were no shoulders, and wasn't the best thought out thing, I don't think. But a lot of states did come together, so I was wondering if other states are getting behind this Bike Route 66 for the anniversary of the Route 66. I mean, nation is coast to coast, so we may not be the only ones looking at this, I suspect. But do you have any information on other states?
I don't, that's a good question, what the latest situation is. I do know, though, that when ACA first tried to get US Bike Route 66 going, that they really did not make much progress. As I mentioned, I did work for NMDOT 20 years ago, and we did put up bike route signs on highways that had shoulders, and it was in some ways not a worthwhile activity when that's all we were doing. In Santa Fe, actually, State Bike Route 9 was working with local governments and local facilities and actually made more sense than a lot of the other ones. But NMDOT would never consider putting up bike route signs on a road, on a state highway that doesn't have sufficient shoulders, for example, which is not the same as providing good bike guidance. So sometimes you have to ride on a road like that. So this map, you know, which is not created by a government agency, uses roads like that. The government agencies have a lot of reluctance to put up signage like that. That's why I think we have a unique opportunity, because the state already has signed Old Las Vegas Highway, and the county already has signed El Gancho Way and Old Santa Fe Trail.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Tim. I'm struggling with the maps a little bit, and just a basic bike route 66, 101. If you maybe you need to restate just in simple terms.
Sure, there is one map.
Describe it. Number 9, I don't really understand, drive me through town.
Bike routes 66, Chicago to LA, 2,000 miles all the way. Route 66, okay? It came through New Mexico. The original Route 66 went north from Romeroville and came up to Santa Fe, and then went, used what's now I-25, more or less. It went over La Bajada and dropped down. And that was the Route 66 itself for 10 years. And then it switched to what is more like the I-40 alignment. Bike Route 66, you know, from Tucumcari to Santa Rosa straight to Albuquerque. So Route 66 left. It was no longer in Santa Fe after 1937. But Bike Route 66 is, you know, a route for bicyclists retracing old Route 66. And they decided, Adventure Cycling Association decided, I think quite rightly, that it was more interesting for bike tourists to, from Santa Rosa, New Mexico, to go up to Romeroville near Las Vegas, make their way through the Pecos area over Glorieta Pass. It actually has to use I-25 at Glorieta Pass. There's no choice. There's no other route. And then come into the Santa Fe area on Old Las Vegas Highway. So Old Las Vegas Highway in Canyoncito doesn't have shoulders. As I mentioned, it could have shoulders on the part approaching US 285 north of El Dorado, but it doesn't. So my proposal is that the part that's already signed as State Bike Route 9, Old Las Vegas Highway, that's where we would start. And we would come in Old Las Vegas Highway, El Gancho Way, Old Santa Fe Trail to the plaza. Coming back is different, because going uphill on Old Santa Fe Trail on a bicycle near it from the plaza is not advisable. It's a narrow road when you're going uphill. I don't know if you've tried it. I mean, I'm comfortable on most roads. On that one, I get on the sidewalk to let cars pass if I need to. So it's a slightly different route. using Don Gaspar and cutting left at one point.
Thank you for that. So what we're talking about specifically is signage.
Well,
For all
the main
this.
proposal is actually our city bike wayfinding signage, doing actual design information that city public works can use to put up signs. So that'll be final design. Okay. The Bike Route 66 is more planning legwork and conceptual design.
Thank you, Member Bordigary. Any other members? I don't see any in person. Member Painter, see your hand up.
Thank you. I was just going to ask, who do you envision using this bike route? It sounds like it's kind of fuzzy on the edges. So I'm not quite sure who's going to be riding it from wherever it was going to start to wherever it ends or whatever. It's
Well, thank you for the question. It's the people who are using Bike Route 66 who come to Steve's shop, people I've seen with packs. You know, maybe if this is marketed and people are made to understand that New Mexico and Santa Fe are being extra supportive of this by putting up signage, then maybe it'll attract new users. But it is people who are, you know, bike touring either on their own, but often it's people who are doing guided tours and supported tours. And but really, you know, the point of wayfinding is so that people can do it on their own. And but as I mentioned, I think we would also have local users who would, you know, if you see a sign that says 66 Plaza, 10 miles, and you live in Canyoncito, then you will be, you now know that there is signage up that's going to help you get to the plaza.
okay. Thank you.
Member Gerlitz.
You're muted.
Thank you, Chair. And in response to Dan's question and in support of Tim and Stevens, for those of us that are road bikers, when the weather is warmer and nicer, that route is heavily used as it is. And for it to be signed all the way to the plaza just enhances what already is a well-traveled route. And we know in Bike Santa Fe as well as in BPAC that one of the major problems with our bicycle infrastructure in Santa Fe is connectivity. And this would connect El Dorado straight to the plaza with historical significance. So I have no concern whatsoever about its usage.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gerlitz. Member Bordigary.
Thank you, Chair. I just have one more thought that came to mind when you were talking about that, prompted by that question. We have a state outdoor recreation department. We have folks, do you work at all, or maybe Ramela does, in terms of money? There's been a lot of money that's been put towards state outdoor recreation initiatives and down to the granular level of trails and local things like that. I'm not really asking a question. I'm just raising the issue because we are an outdoor recreation destination worldwide. This country,
Ramela
this
would
state.
like to address that.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Chair, Member Bordigary. So we have funding for this project and it's city funded. So we finished phase 1. So what we are seeking to move forward with phase 2 and 3 is your approval. Once you approve the proposal that was presented to you tonight, then we will issue Mr. Rogers the PO. The question also is, are we going to include Bike Route 66 as a project? Because it was not included in the original proposal of phase 2 and 3. So there is funding, and the recreation funding, the problem I'm having with that is it's 1-to-1. So 50% is the local match. So if there are some funding source like TAP, which is a federal funding program, the local match is only from 14.56% to 25%. Others like HC, it's 100% paid for by the federal government. There's no local match. So when we look for funding sources, I also consider those issues because the city doesn't really have a lot of money for local match.
Any other questions from members? I guess if not, I've got a clarifying question for Ms. Glorioso-Mas. So given that there was the prior approval for phase 2 and 3 and Route 66 was not part of that, do we have the authority to approve that? And I guess if we don't, or if, let me ask you that, do we have the authority to include it in what was previously approved?
Yes, Mr. Chair, because it's the BPAC approved it in 2019, I believe.
Okay, that helps, because I was going to say if we don't, then we can take two separate actions where if we can move forward with what we have the authority to approve or not approve, and then look at Route 66 as a separate and approve or not approve. But if we have the ability to include it, I just wanted to get that clarification. So thank you for clarifying that for me. Any other questions or comments from the body? And if not, what's the will of the body?
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I move that we approve the wayfinding phases presented here tonight, as revised, and include the, what we call it, Bike 66?
Like Route 66.
Bike Route 66, as presented.
As part of the project.
As part of the project.
Okay, so we got a motion, we got a second by member Spencer. Any discussion? Don't see any hands up online. I don't see any hands up in person. Oh, Member Gerlitz, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Just a very quick question. Once this proposal is approved, what does that mean? What happens next?
Ms. Glorioso-Mas, you probably would be the best to answer that one.
Mr. Chair, Member Garlix, then I will issue the PO to Tim Rogers to proceed with the design of phase 2 and 3 as amended.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members? Seeing none, Ms. Glorioso-Mas, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Member Abo,
Yes.
Member Bird-Garay,
Yes.
Member Gabriel,
Yes.
Member Gerlix,
Yes.
Member Painter,
Yes.
Member Pilcher, Member Spencer,
Yes.
Chair Garcia,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Rogers, and thank you to the guests for coming tonight. And look forward to the design. And I guess maybe I should have asked this before, but once it's designed, it comes back to us, right? Okay, that's what I thought, but wanted to make sure the public was aware as well. Okay, so next, go ahead and move on to item 8A, Promotion, Education, and Programming Subcommittee Report. Member Gabriel, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's more of a request than a report. Just a reminder that a couple of you have still not sent me your bios and pictures yet, and you know who you are, so please do that as soon as you can. Thank you.
Okay, so you haven't got Member Gabriel, your bio or photo, probably I'm guilty of that, or get you that. And so I know we've got a new picture for me, so I'll get you that as well. We postponed item 8B. Item 9 matters from staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The maintenance resolution, I believe, will be introduced on the January 31st.
That is the hope. Yes,
Hoping.
yes, that is the
That's all,
hope.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gloria Somas. Matters from the committee. Member Painter. Pilcher.
Just a quick question, Ramella, do you have any timeline when we may hear back from the League
Hey, Mike,
American Bicyclists about our
For the
I did. I'll call you back.
Bicycle-friendly
I'm on
city?
a call with the city. I'll call you in about a few minutes.
Yeah, we received an email from the league that it has been delayed. There are so many applications, and that they may be able to release the result by February. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the committee? Hearing none. Let's see, next item.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, Member Abo. Yes, and then Member Gabriel after that.
thank you, sir. Just a suggestion, if you have a sidewalk within the city of Santa Fe, please shovel it. We really appreciate it, and it's the law. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the reminder. Member Gabriel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You may be mentioning this in your report. I'm assuming that you are going to continue as our chair because you're here tonight.
Yes. Yes, I definitely have the privilege. Any other member comments? Member Spencer.
To ricochet back at Member Abo, I have a 90-year-old on one side who had a stroke, 2 70 to 80-year-olds on the other side, and the person across the street just passed away. So I'm getting plenty of exercise, but a question is, does the city have any sort of public relations thing on sidewalk buddies to help people in some of these areas where everybody's kind of a little too old to be shoveling? Because not everybody can shovel out a foot of snow. Maybe something we want to look at in the future.
Thank you for that and recommendations. I think that's a great idea to begin a new initiative. Any other members' comments? Okay, hearing none, let's go to matters from the chair. As Member Gabriel alluded, yes, I will be the chair for the next 2 years, so y'all are stuck with me. But jokingly, I'd look forward to working with everybody. Excited to continue the work that you all have begun, continue that momentum, and ensure that Santa Fe becomes a shining star in regards to bicycle and pedestrian activity. And so that did get approved last night by the governing body. So with that, I won't belabor the moment. Our next meeting is February 8th. We will be here in person. We will plan better for the future just in case there is snow. The reason, as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, that we had to come in person was because we didn't recognize it via Zoom. We will recognize them next meeting via Zoom with the intention we'll be in person. But if we do get blessed with more snow, we'll make sure we go via Zoom. That way everybody's home safe and sound, and we don't have to postpone any items. So with that, everybody, please be safe on those roads. It's getting cold. There was an emergency alert that just went out. Make sure if it's going to get pretty cold, so leave a faucet dripping to make sure your pipes don't freeze, and stay warm, everybody. We're adjourned.
Good night.